will have an ID, will have name, will have class, and we have method. These three things we discussed. Method, two options are there. We have get method, another one post. What is the default method? Default is get. Get is good for fetching the data. Get is good for fetching the data, and post is good for submitting the data. Can we submit on get? Yes, we can submit, but it is not safe. We can submit, but not safe. So what is problem with get? What are the advantages of post? We discuss it. Right. What is advantage of get? Submitting data on get. What is the advantage of submitting data on get? One technical word is that you data will be cached. Cached. Technical words. We have to use technical words. In interviews, always try to use the technical words. Answers. Don't try to explain sentences. Use always technical words. Why? Because once you give a technical word, one word is enough. You answered correctly. But if you tell 1, 2, 3 sentence, that means you are trying to explain. Then from that explanation, he will pick one more question. That means you are giving scope to interviewer to go into the topic depth unnecessarily. So if you use the technical word, he's satisfied because answer, if he wants, he will go into the concept. Otherwise, he will simply skip that, right? So that is the reason, always remember these technical words. Right? So you can cache. Caching will save. Caching will save. One word is there. Caching will save what? Caching will save what it will save? Caching will save round trip. Remembered? Round trip is a mechanism where every time it has to communicate with server. Without every time communicating with server, we can access and use it without round trip. That means caching will save round trips. That means here, let me give these points also. So get can cache the data. Caching will save round trips. Will save round trips. That is important. Now, in the form attributes, another important attribute. So in the attributes, we have ID, name, class, and method. Yesterday we discussed. One more is action. Action. Actually, action indicates the target location, indicates the target location where the data need to be submitted. Where you want to submit this data, the target is defined by using action. Yesterday we said that on post one error will come. Error is nothing but it is expecting some server side page. You have to tell where to post. So I have to tell that by using action. By using action, we will post to some register.php, ASP, JSP, server side. These are server side pages. Server side pages will have JSP, PHP, ASP like that. That means from our HTML page, from front end, we are submitting data to backend. Backend page will collect it and use it. Action indicates where to submit, but that is done by server side. Later, you will learn that server side. As of now, you run this, you can see here, I am entering some password and I say register, it submits to that page. Currently, we don't have any such pages. Later, we have to design those pages. For that, we have to use that action. So, syntactically, it will be like this. So, we have in form method is post, and form action is any server page. We have to define any server page. So just example I given here like this, form method is equal to post and action is equal to some page dot JSP, PHP, ASP like that. Any server side page we have to define. That is another attribute for form action. Form have method and action. Another important, form have no validate. Another attribute is no validate. No validate, it is used to bypass the default HTML validations. It is used to bypass the default HTML validations. We can bypass the default HTML validations by using no validate. By using no validate. What does that mean? Actually, HTML5, which is the latest version of HTML, it introduced validations, inbuilt validations. Inbuilt validation means without writing much logic, you can verify the values. Actually, to verify values, we have to write some logic. Without writing the logic, we can verify the values. So that is available from HTML5. For example, see here, I am saying here as email. I say email and input type is equal to, I am saying email. Actually, so value name is email. I already told you we will discuss what is this input and all in the next concept we will discuss. As of now, see here I am trying to access the fresh email. I am typing some email, some tom11 at. So I am typing something like this. And if I click on register, automatically it is popping up a message saying that, so please enter the part following, it is incomplete. That means it is not a good email. Suppose I am not using at the net and click on register, it says please include at the net. That's very good. That means automatically it is verifying. That's very good. Now if I write no validate, if I write no validate for form, no validate if I write, it will not verify. It will not verify. It will not use validations. If validation is good, why you are ignoring? Validation is good or bad? It is good. Then why you have an option to bypass? Why you have an option to bypass? That means no validate indicates that don't use validation. And you see now here, I am entering here, some tom11 something like this and click on register. It is submitting. It is submitting. Now the point is why you are bypassing the validation. Validation is good. Why you are bypassing? Because sometimes problem is HTML is providing validations, but they are not according to our requirements. Validations are there and validations are good, but Sometimes validations given by HTML are not good for our requirements. Then why should I use? I don't want it, because you see here, suppose I am not using no validate. I am not using this. I will remove it. I will remove it. Okay. Now you see here when I am entering some details, some Tom11, it says that please include at the net. I include at the net GG. Is it valid? Not valid, but it is valid. It submits. How it is valid? In its validation, email should contain only at the net, and after at the net a part. But my email doesn't need such validation. I need good validation for email, like gmail.com. So validation provided by HTML is not great for every situation. In that case, why if I leave it, what will happen? If I leave it, what will happen? We write validations manually because it is not satisfying. This validation will work, our validation also will work. We don't want both to work. We want only one. Either use HTML validation or use your validation. Then bypass the HTML validation. We can bypass the HTML validation by using no validate. That is the concept actually. So syntactically, we write like this. So form, so some method, some post, and we say no validate. Just we can write that no validate and configure it. This is attribute of forms. So form comprises of basically these important attributes: ID, name, class. The major is method is very important, action is important, and no valid. This is designing form. Now once you know how to design form, now we have to learn how to design form elements. Means inside form, how to design elements. Actually, a form comprises of various elements which are designed by using so many tags are there: input, select, option, opt group, and we have like meter, we have like progress, we have like text area. All these all comes under form elements. Inside the form, elements are designed by using these tags. By using these tags, we design elements. We will see one by one how to design. First, we will see how we can design the form elements. We will learn about how to create a text box. First, we will see how to create a text, how we can design a text box. Actually, text box is nothing but we use text boxes. What is the purpose of text box? Text box is used for string input. It is used for string input. Generally, what is a string? String is a literal with a group of characters. Like alphabet, numbers, alphabet, and symbols. String is a group of characters like alphabet, numbers, symbols, all these. For that, we generally use text box. And how to design text box? To design text box is configured by using input type as text. Text box is designed by using input type as text. So actually, one more clarity you should have. Remember, in HTML, input is an element. So here a note I will give. Input element allows to input any value. If you want to restrict, if you want to restrict to any specific data type, like number, like email, like string, then so etc., then you have to use the attribute, you have to use the attribute type. Then we have to use the attribute type. So type is important, we have to use the attribute type. That means actually we generally, many times people who don't know complete technical HTML, they think like text box will come by using input type text box text. No, input itself is a text box. Input itself is a text box. For example, you see now I am designing here, we will create a simple, I will remove all this and make it simple form. And here I will keep a heading register, and data list, data term, I will just use the name as username, data definition, and another data term password, and data definition. Another data term is age, and here data definition. I have data term as date of birth, and again data definition. And just here I will put data term wherever it is there, font weight as bold. Okay. And just I will keep, so data definition, so margin bottom is 15 pixel. Actually I just designed an output like this here. I just created this like this. Now I will put here as register new user, like this we defined. Okay, that is register new user. And this is the actual concept. Now important is generally we want to allow to type username, password, age, and all these. For that actually just input is enough. Input is enough. That means I am writing this input everywhere. I am writing for password, I am writing for age, I am writing for date of birth. Now automatically input will give this text box only. Automatically input will give text box only. This is what generally many times people are not aware of. People think that input type text means text box. No, input itself is a text box. Then why to use type? Because suppose age, it is allowing string, but it should allow only number. Date of allowing string, but it should allow only date. That means general input don't have any restriction, you can enter any kind of value. To create with certain restrictions, we have to use type. In that, so many types are there, we will discuss one by one. So without type also it looks like text box. So by giving type text also it will look like text box. But you have to use type text when your intention is to input is a string. When you want to input a string, then you have to define the type as text. So as of now I will delete all this. I don't want all these as of now. What I will do here, I will just use a button also, put a button, register. Later we will discuss buttons. And here input type we need to define as text. So without that also it will be text. By default it will be text. But we want restrictions, so then we can configure like this. Now generally it is a text box. Now important, Text box is designed by using input type text, but lot of attributes are there. Text box attributes, so many attributes are there. Text box have lot of attributes. What are the attributes used for text box? What are the attributes used for text box? Let's see. First important attribute for the text box is we use first ID and name and class. All these three are same. Already we discussed about that. ID, name and class. But what you need to know extra here is all these are there. These three are present for form also. But what you need to know is note is every element in form must have a name, must have a name defined, must have a name defined. It is mandatory. If name if name is not defined, if name is not defined, then form cannot submit its value, cannot submit its value. It is mandatory that whenever you are designing a form with some elements inside, every element in form must have a name. For example, you remember, you may give ID, class doesn't matter, but name is mandatory. ID, class doesn't matter, but name is mandatory. For example, you see, I give an ID as user ID is equal to username. I give an class as some user hyphen name. And you observe here, I am entering the username. Let's enter the username. Suppose I entered like John underscore 123. After entering the username, what is the default method? By default, form method is get. On get method, where it will submit, data will be in query string. And observe carefully, when I click register, and you can see in the URL, it is not submitting anything. Form is unable to submit, form is unable to submit the value. So every element, so remember, it is having ID and class, doesn't matter. Every element must have which property is mandatory? Name. Name is equal to, I will give username. Now you see here, I entered the username John123 and click on register. Now you can see the value is submitted. So name is mandatory. So when you design forms, it is very important that every element in the form must have a reference name. So technically we have ID, we have name, and we have class, right? So syntactically, one more important here is you can have value. Value indicates the default value to display in text box. What value you want by default inside text box that you can design with value? Currently it is empty. That means the username is empty. But whenever username opens in a form, by default it should get that name. Some name should be there. For example, generally situation I will tell you. Generally, suppose you have your Gmail account settings. You have Gmail account settings. Now, what you have to do is you click on an option called change password. When you give change password, then what they do is they will show a form. In this form, there will be an option like this. Like suppose username option is there, and old password is there, old password is there, and new password is there, new password is there. Now here important is this text box empty, this text box is also empty, but this text box actually, this text box automatically opens with your username. That means this text box automatically name, it will open with username. It says that for this user you apply old password and new password you set it. That means whenever the form opens, by default some value must be inside it, it cannot, it should not be empty. Of course, if user can change this value, but if you don't want to change the value, you can restrict it. I will show you that. That means what is value? Value indicates what value you want by default inside it. For example, even simple point I will tell you. Suppose I go to my D drive. In D drive, I am creating a new folder. You see there is a button called new folder. When I click new folder, what should be the folder name? If I don't give any folder name, automatically it will take as new folder. That is value. Value means what value it should take by default. Means I don't want empty, because empty names are not allowed. I want something inside it by default. That is called value. That is called value. So how do we configure the values here? So we just define value. Value is equal to some John underscore 111, something like this, and you can see that comes like this. If I submit, what will happen? It will submit that value. So if you want, you can change that value. You can change the value. You can change the complete value. If you want, you can change the value. But whenever page refresh, page loads, automatically it will come with that value. So I want some default value to display inside the text box. So this situation comes regularly in our designing. Regularly in future, you will come across with that. So we don't want a text box to be empty. We want with some value that you can configure by using value. But the value can be changed. If you don't want to change, you can use an attribute read only. Read only. So that means it will not allow, it will not allow to change the value. It will not allow to change the value, but it submits the value. But it submits the value. It submits the value. It will not allow to change the value, but it will submit the value. It will not allow to change the value, but submits the value. Read only. That means you see here now, I am creating, currently I can change this. I don't want to change. I need to fix this. Then I can simply add an option read only. If I defined read only, when I defined read only, that means now I cannot do any modification. Any modifications inside it not allowed. But when I click on that, it is submitted. You can see it is submitting. So I will take it empty first. And you see, I click on register, it is submitting it. It is submitting the value, but will not allow to change, because already I told you here we want username to show, but username cannot be changed. Password can be changed. That means we want to display the value, but read only, so that user cannot change it. You can only see it. But when user submits, this should be submitted. User submits, this should be submitted. It should be submitted. We collect that username. For that username, we will put that new password. So what is read only? Read only will not allow to change, but it will allow to submit. It will submit the value. That is what actually you can control by using another disabled. We have a disabled property. Disabled means it will not allow to change, to change and submit. You can't even submit. It will not allow to change. It will not allow to submit. It is just visible on screen. That means now what I will do here, I will change this value. I will change this value, some David. After that, I will use, instead of read only, I will use disabled. Now you can see that, you can see the text box is disabled. It is disabled. Disabled means you cannot type anything inside it. And not only typing, click submit and see register. It is unable to submit it. You can see it is unable to submit. It is unable to submit. That means in many interviews, they ask the question, what is difference between read only and disabled? Because both will not allow to change. Read only will not allow to change. Disable also will not allow to change. Then what is difference? Difference is read only can submit, disable cannot submit. Disable cannot submit. So disabling an element will not allow to submit its value, because sometimes we want to show that value, but we don't want to submit the value. We don't want to submit the value. In that case, we have to configure with disable. So some important attributes like value, read only, disable, and all this. Next important attribute is size. So I will give a syntax here first up to this. So we have input type is equal to text. We can give name, so name as some username, and if I want, I can keep it with disabled, and I can keep some value, so some John like this. I'm just defining this. Now another important attribute for text boxes is, generally for text box we can define size. It specifies the width of text box. Size specifies width of text box, only width. Default width is 20. 20 is default. Default width of text box is 20. For example, actually, suppose here I am removing this disabled and all. Already I told you so many times, in HTML there is no order dependency. Attributes don't have order dependency. Order dependency means I can use input type last, I can use input type first, name first, type later. There is no order. You can write anywhere. Here another option is, for example, I said username. Okay, good. Here I am defining another data term, and I'm configuring as CC, some CC. This is nothing but separated with commas, right? So with comma, just symbol I am giving, separated with comma, CC, we have to write like this. And I just given a data definition. Here I said input type is equal to text. And here I want to display little lengthy text box. Then I can just keep the size as some 50, then size will increase. That means text box size increases. Text box size increases. For example, I am asking here some OTP. Then I don't need this much lengthy text box for OTP. Then I will just keep it to 4. Then it will be like this. And very important, it doesn't mean that it will allow only 4 characters. It is only width. That means you can enter any number of characters inside it. It is not that you can enter only 4 characters. That is not limit. That is width. That is width. That means only the width, the size will adjust. Right? Inside you can type any number of characters. That is not the limit. So this is, if I give 20, you can see that is the default size. That is the default size. You can change the size depending on the requirement, you can configure. So size is used to adjust the width. So syntactically we can configure input type is equal to text and name is equal to some OTP, and here size is equal to some 4. Like this we are configuring. So for text box, another very important attribute is autofocus. Autofocus. Autofocus, it sets focus to the control automatically. Automatically. It sets focus to the control automatically. This is nothing but, actually, suppose I open like this. Now, many times while using internet and forms, you will come across with this problem regularly. What we do is we open some registration form or login form. We forget to click inside the boxes, and without clicking inside boxes, we start typing and nothing typing. We face this problem very regularly. Then what is the problem? Problem is you haven't clicked anywhere. What we have to do, I have to click on this username. I have to click inside that username, then start typing. We can do one thing directly. Directly we can set autofocus. If I set autofocus, then automatically on page load cursor will be blinking there. You can keep autofocus to only one element in form. So if I write autofocus for both of them, autofocus for both of them, it will work only to the first one. It will work only to the first one. So if I remove autofocus for the first one, then it will work for the second one. So sometimes what happens is you are filling a lengthy form. They sent an OTP. If they sent an OTP directly, OTP should highlight so that he can start typing there. No other options. That means we want that to set focus automatically. Then in that case, we can go with this autofocus. So it is just to set focus. So we need to configure in this way. Input type is equal to text, and some name is OTP, some size is some 4, and we say auto focus. Autofocus. Another important, we have attribute. Another attribute is placeholder. Placeholder. It defines the watermark text. Watermark text. It defines the watermark text. Watermark text means, for example, this we are saying OTP. So, and here I defined OTP size. I will keep this OTP size as suppose 8 characters. OTP size 8 characters, it is like this. And here I am just giving, so placeholder, I will say valid 5 minutes. And you can see that that placeholder will come inside it. Placeholder indicates the watermark text. But remember, the text will be gone automatically when you type some value inside. When you type some value, it is gone. When you are not typing the value, that watermark text will come. That is just like tip, to display the tip. Right? We can define that by using this. Right? And very important, if I submit, it will submit empty. It will not submit this watermark text. Watermark text is only for tips. When I click submit, it will not submit anything. It is not submitting this OTP. First important to submit OTP, then it should have a name, right? That is first option. Name is OTP. It should have a name. Even if it is having name, I click submit, the OTP and usernames are empty. They are empty. So the point here is, it is just configuring it. It is just configuring, highlighting some tips, which is not a value. Actual value is what you type inside it. This is just watermark text to give some hints about that. We can give hints. Suppose username, I will put a placeholder like block letters, and it will show block letters. We can have that watermark type. Generally, This is very good when we are designing the forms and we want to save the space in the forms. Usually you see, suppose I open Netflix. In this Netflix, you see there is an option email address. That email address is a watermark text. That is a watermark text. Why? Because I don't want to waste space for a title like email address. We don't want that. For example, suppose what is happening is, suppose I am designing a toolbar. I am designing a toolbar. In this toolbar, very less space is there. Now in this toolbar, I want to give a form like sign in. In the toolbar, I want to give a form like sign in. Then here I cannot say username text box, password text box. That will be very complex, right? Then what we do is very simple. Then what we do, we design in this way. Let's do in this way. Suppose I will keep like a toolbar for you so that you can understand. Here I will just keep a div. Okay, I will put a class container, and here we have a div. In this we have input type is equal to text. This is a value. For example, I said uh, name, because we are running only string type as of now. I will use here first, and I will use another div. This is input type is equal to text, and the name is equal to last. And another div, this will be a button. So button will be like, so register something like this. I design. Now what happens is, all are configured in this way. All are configured in this way. Now what is first box, what is second box, I will keep them side by side. Then in the style, what we will do is, in the style we are simply configuring dot container. In the container div, in the container every div display should be inline. Display should be inline. That means they will keep side by side. They will keep side by side. That means now here you have container, inside the container div space we are giving. That means inside the div inline. Now what is first text box, what is second text box? That means here we cannot put again here first name like this. That is not great idea, because you are wasting the space on the screen now. Then what we do is, we better define here a placeholder, and we say first name, and we put a placeholder, we say last name. First name, last name, and you see it space like this. That's good. That means we can configure like this. We can define in this way. This is a simple example to make you understand the placeholder, right? I will paste this example, that is placeholder. So in the attributes we have autofocus, another one we have placeholder. So many attributes are there. Next important, another attribute is, so we have another attribute, min length. Length. We have min length. Another attribute is min length. Min length is nothing but it restricts. So it validates. It validates the minimum number of characters. It validates minimum number of characters. Similarly, you can use max length. It validates the maximum number of characters. And very important is, it will not allow exceeding characters. It will not allow exceeding characters. That means it will not allow you to type more than that. So for example, now what I can do here, suppose I'm just making the change here again. Now remove this. I will create a simple, now in the form I'm just designing username, and in username I given text box, input type is equal to text, and name is username, and we will put a button as register, and here I am giving options. So min length is 4 and max length is 15. So that is how we can configure. Now you see here, when important, when you are typing the name here, let's type the name. I entered the name, some name, so 3 characters, and register, it says please lengthen to 4 characters. It's not submitting. That is good. So I entered, so I am trying to enter more than 15 characters. It is not allowing. Stop it. It is not allowing. Stop it. That means maximum. It will not allow more than that. So if you want to restrict only 4 characters, only 2 characters, only 10 characters, you can restrict. You can restrict. That you can do by using max. If you are not satisfying min length, it will show messages. If you are not satisfying max length, it will stop it. It will not allow to enter exceeding characters. That means it will stop that. So this is the combination of min length and max length. Means how do we define min length and max length? This is how we specify min length and max length. Syntax is like this. So we define input type is equal to text, name is equal to username. We have min length is equal to 4, max length is equal to some 15, like this. We can put placeholder, we can put all the details, and we can display whatever we want inside it. That is min length and max length. Another important attribute for text box is required. It will not allow, to submit empty. So that means required, it is used to define mandatory fields. It is used to define mandatory fields. It will not allow to submit empty. That means there must be value. For example, when you designed this here, so username is there, and I will keep here another break, just roughly line break, 2 line breaks I am giving. Later we can design neatly example. As of now, here I will give one more OTP, and input type is equal to text, and min length is suppose 4 characters, max length also 4. That means minimum maximum 4. That means exactly 4, not less than, not greater than. We can restrict that. Now another name is equal to some OTP. But here the point is, without this also, see, actually OTP I will give size as some 4. Okay, it looks like this. Now here OTP, I entered username, OTP without entering, I click register, it is working fine. It is working fine. You given min max. Min max is when you type value. That means minimum and maximum will be verified when you are typing something inside it. But if you are not typing, it will submit empty. It will submit empty because empty doesn't comes under min and max range. Empty is string empty. It is not number 0. It is not 0. Empty is not 0. That is the reason empty doesn't comes under 4 and 15, or empty doesn't comes under this 4. That means then how we can restrict empty? Then we have to use an option, what? Required. If I use required, then it will not allow to submit empty. You see, now I am typing the username, and without OTP click register, it says required. Please fill out the field. And both can be required. I can give this also required. Then what it will first verify the first one. That means I click register, it will verify first one. And if you entered the first one, okay, then it will verify the second one. And this is also entering, see, it is showing minimum 4 and 4 characters entered. Now we can submit it. So we can configure by using required. By using required. Required indicates mandatory. It indicates mandatory. So input type is equal to text, name is equal to some username, and we can just put as a required. This is another attribute important. And one more, another attribute for text box. Remember, these are all related to one element. You are learning all the attributes which are related to only one element. You are currently learning only one element. That is text box element. Like that, so many elements will be there. These are the attributes for text box. Text box. In that, there is another list. It uses a data list. It uses a data list. It uses a data list. List uses a data list. What is a data list? Actually, data list is used as autocomplete text. Data list is used as autocomplete text. That is the intention of data list. For example, you observe carefully here. I am trying to type OTP and username. I clicked inside the text box. You see some suggestions are coming. Are these permanent? Are these permanent? They are not permanent. I can delete. These are not permanent. I can delete. That means because this is history, browser history. If I clean browser history, they will be gone. So you see that I can delete directly here also. So, but we want such permanent suggestions, not related to history. For example, see now how we can configure. So in the form, I am designing a heading here. For form, I will give a line as a center. Okay, here I will give Google, and below that I will give text box input type text, name is equal to search. Okay, and below that I will put a paragraph. In that paragraph, I am giving a button. Button I will give as search. Okay, and I will give this size as 40. I'm giving like this, and it looks like this. That means we just designed a heading, a text box, and a search button. Now, very important is under this here, under this text box, I am adding a data list. Data list. Data list contains options. Data list contains options. So every option can have some text. Suppose I am using JavaScript tutorial. Okay. I will give another option, HTML tutorial. And I will give another option as CSS examples. And another option as JavaScript examples, and another option, so HTML examples. Like this I am giving. Now some there, like this, there can be so many data lists. I created only one. If there are so many data lists, every data list should have a unique ID. That means I will put an ID for this. What is the ID? Suppose terms. I can give any ID. Now I want this data list to be used by this text box. Remember, currently data list is not visible. Nothing will come. You can see nothing is there. one help came. That help is history. I delete that history. Nothing is there. I want this text box to use this data list. Then it uses by using list is equal to terms. That means now it will get the list from these terms. And you can see that now I click inside, it will get all the list. Remember, this is not drop down. Many times people confuse. This is not drop down. Difference between drop down and this is drop down will not allow to type, only selecting. This is text box. It is not drop down. For example, you have drop downs now. So for example, you see this is a drop down. So this is a drop down. In this drop down, you cannot type anything. You can only select. You can only select. So this is not drop down. Many people confuse like drop down. It is not drop down. It is text box. But what is the specialty? Not only it shows all the list. When you start typing anything, some tutorial, it will help it. That means only tutorial related help will come. Suppose I said some JavaScript examples, JavaScript tutorials. I am just writing as examples. You see all examples. User can select from this. That is autocomplete. We can configure such autocomplete options. That is very important. So it uses a data list. So here another note is data list is designed. It is designed by using data list and option. Data list and option. First I will give like this. It is designed by using data list. So, and second point, data list contains options designed by using option. We have option. So syntactically, how we do? We have to first use a text box. Input type is equal to text. This text box will have some name, some search is the name, and it is having a list. That list is some terms. And what is that list? That list is referring to data list. We have a data list. That ID must be terms. Inside the data list, we have to create option, some term one, and close the option. Like that you can add so many and close the data list. That's how we need to design. And very important is it not necessary that you have to keep it below only. You can keep anywhere. Just ID reference is important. But generally we use common sense, right? We will not put somewhere and text box somewhere else, right? We will usually put in the below concept only, right? Yeah, because you are referring to ID, you can keep anywhere. It doesn't matter. So it is not that it should be below the text box. It can be anywhere, but there can be so many data lists. There can be so many text boxes. Every text box can have a different suggestions. In that case, we have to follow these options, right? This is usually done by using data list. This is one example. I will post this example here. This is an example for list. Another very important attribute is pattern. This is the biggest concept. And this is very, very important for future JavaScript, jQuery, Angular, React, everywhere. And I will not repeat again and again. So once we discuss in HTML perfectly, I will not repeat it. I will just use it everywhere. So in JavaScript, jQuery, React, Angular, we will use the same pattern. But we will learn it here detailedly. Then we will discuss about the other options. Let's see that here. So technically, what is pattern? Pattern is nothing but it is used to restrict the format of value entered into text box. Format of value entered into text box. Format of value, that is important. We can restrict the format of value. For example, here, suppose I am designing a text box. I am designing a text box. So I'm designing a text box here. And in this text box, I am defining some restrictions. That means name must be 4 to 15 characters. How you will verify 4 to 15 characters? Will have attributes like min length, we have attributes like max length. Another important, we say name is mandatory. Name is mandatory means which attribute we will use? We will use required. Another important is as per the rules, name must start with uppercase, with uppercase letter. How you will verify? Now this is the condition. That means name must start with uppercase letters, name must contain all uppercase letters, or name must have at least one special character, right? Currently we are learning only text box. So later password, numbers, all these will come. Don't get into that. Currently we are discussing only one control. Which control you are currently learning? Text box, right? Now the point is we have restrictions, but they are not about the format. For example, bank says IFSC code, enter an IFSC code, and according to some bank website, SBI, its IFSC code will start with SBI. After that, it should contain a 6-digit number. How you will verify this type of value? Digit number will be changing, but SBI will be standard. How you will verify these kind of things? That is done by using format, pattern. Pattern is used for restricting the format of value entered into text box. And very important is pattern uses a regular expression. This is important. Pattern uses a regular expression. Pattern uses a regular expression. That means here we have to write like this: input type is equal to text, and pattern use equal to, it uses an expression, regular expression. It uses a regular expression. Now what you have to learn is how to build this expression. How we build this expression? Writing expression is important. How we build the expression? It's very simple. Actually, here regular expression is built by using meta characters and quantifiers. Regular expression is built with meta characters and quantifiers. What are meta characters and quantifiers? Again, the same concept. Actually, meta characters are not new. Meta characters already we know, but some more additionally we have to learn actually. Meta characters are nothing but basic computer operating. Actually, suppose, see, I am opening a command prompt here. Suppose this is, I want to see the files list here. There is a command called dir. It will show the list of all files in that location. But I want to display only the files whose name starts with D. Then I have to write dir d asterisk dot asterisk. What is the meaning of this asterisk? This is a meta character. This asterisk is a meta character. Asterisk is a meta character. It indicates that after D, there can be any number of characters and any character. After D, there can be any number of characters and any character with any extension. Then it will get those files. That means meta characters are used in our regular daily life everywhere while working with Windows. For example, if I asked you, like here, suppose in your computer, how to search all PDF documents, starting with character some S. Suppose in February month, some PDF documents are generated, and February month documents are generated with FEB, and lengthy name can be there. Any lengthy name can be there. After that, extension will be .pdf. That means February some 2022, some item number, something like this, .pdf will be there. And similarly, we have March, so 2022, so some item number .pdf is there. I want all February PDF documents. Then how? Then we have to write like this, FEB. That means we know that it starts with FEB. After that, asterisk means any number of characters, any lengthy, .pdf. That means extension should be PDF. This is meta character. That is meta character. So meta character is a concept which is used in general computer operating everywhere. If you are aware of basic computer operating, then if you are aware of basic computer operating, you know some meta characters. I hope, actually, suppose, see, I will use here. Suppose I am writing dir, some list is there. Suppose I am writing dir question mark, question mark, question mark. Actually, question mark indicates one character. Question mark, question mark, question mark indicates three characters. For example, I am writing question mark 80. That means it will get all the files whose name is three characters. Last two characters must be A and T. First character can be changing. And you can see it will get such files. This is meta characters. So people may think like it is a new concept, but it is very general thing in computer operating. In computer operating, meta characters are there. Only the point is, now people who are learning software technologies without any basic computer knowledge itself, they directly join courses, right? These days, directly people join courses. That means a Java developer, he says, I know Java. You ask him question, how many keys are present on keyboard? And ask him, tell me the purpose of every key on the keyboard. He don't know. But he is Java developer. That means we have software engineers who don't know how many keys are present on a keyboard and what is the purpose of them. On what software engineer he is. What kind of software engineer he is. Of course, we are having such engineers in our companies. That is the reason we face lot of problems, issues with these kind of people, half knowledge. Because these days people directly want to learn a technology without knowing how to turn off the computer, turn on the computer, how to update the computer. People even don't know how to operate mouse buttons properly. They don't know how to use a mouse wheel, scrolling wheel up down. Many people even don't know that mouse wheel can be clicked. You know, mouse wheel can be clicked, you know. What is the purpose of mouse wheel clicking? The purpose of mouse wheel clicking is scrolling. Continuous scrolling we can do by, see, these are all basic computer operating related skills. When people come without all this knowledge, several topics looks like new things, but these are all general things. So meta character concept is not a new concept. Meta character is already there, but in HTML we will learn more about them. But in basic computer operating, many people don't know, but they use regularly. Suppose they want to find photos, they will write .jpg. In search box, they will write .jpg. Suppose they want to search for only starting with A asterisk .jpg, like this. Now we have to learn how to build the expression using meta characters. There are so many meta characters. We are going to learn these meta characters now. Meta characters. One small example I will tell you. First important meta character, question mark. Question mark is used for zero or one occurrence of character. Question mark is used for zero or one occurrence of character. I will tell you an example here. Observe, see. Carefully observe this. I am designing here a test, and input type is equal to text, and I will put name as test. Okay, test. And here I am writing pattern. Okay, our point is, and I will put a submit button. I will add a submit button here. I will add a submit button here. Okay, good. Now the point is here, in this text box, I want to allow only two words. I want to allow only two words, and those two words are COLOUR and COLOR. I want to allow only these two words. Anything else other than this, not valid. Anything else other than this is not valid. For example, see now, I am using pattern COLOUR. That means it will allow only this. Observe carefully now. I am typing here COLOR and submit. It's not allowing. It will allow only COLOUR only. I entered UR, then submit, it is allowing. COLOR, it is not allowing to submit it. It is not allowing to submit. Now, how do we write this expression? Simple. Here I will put after you question mark. This indicates that you can be how many times? 0 time, or it can be 1 time. That means now the point, what it indicates, 0 or 1 occurrence. That means without you, valid. With you, valid. But you, how many times valid? Only 1. That means now you satisfied. Now you see here, you enter anything else, not valid. I entered COLOR. Okay, it is submitted. I entered COLOUR. That is also submitted. But I entered COLOOR. That is not submitted. COLOUR. That is also not submitted. It will allow only one occurrence of that, and it will submit. Remember, this is only the first point about meta characters. So much is there. It will take at least complete one session to finish these meta characters. That we will see in tomorrow session. Right? Tomorrow entire session will be on this meta characters only. So that I can give some exercises on this now. How by using meta characters, some exercises you can try. Right? I will give you some queries. You have to write them. And it is very frequently asked. Whenever we design forms, they ask password this restriction, username this restriction. Meta characters are very important. So tomorrow session, we will discuss detailedly with examples of all meta characters, how to handle. Okay, right.